Okay, let's unpack this. We're looking at a real kind of sleeper hit today. Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Right.
The preface mentions, get this, an initial print run of just 5,000 copies back in 37.
Wow, only 5,000.
Yeah. And somehow it just exploded, became this massive international bestseller. And, people are still quoting it, arguing about it, even parodying it almost a century later.
That kind of staying power is pretty amazing. It makes you
Hmm.
think, what did it tap into that's still so relevant?
Exactly. And, well, what's interesting from the get-go is just how long it's lasted. For a book from, that specific time to still
It
resonate.
suggests it's hitting on something fundamental about, well, us,
Yeah.
about people, things that don't really change much, even when society does.
Absolutely. And this isn't some dry academic theory we're wading through. We know you, our listener, are keen to really get a handle on interpersonal skills.
Yeah, practical stuff you can actually use.
Right, without getting buried in jargon. And this book, it seems like it was basically designed for that. Apparently, it started with some pretty serious research.
Oh, yeah.
A $25,000 survey back then, which was a lot of money. University of Chicago, the YMCA schools, took them 2 years.
Okay, so what did they find?
Well, their big finding was, okay, adults care most about health. No big surprise there, maybe. But number 2, understanding and getting along with people.
Ah, okay. That makes sense.
But here's the kicker. They found there was almost nothing practical out there to teach this stuff. No good textbooks, nothing really hands-on.
Huh. It really does highlight a need, doesn't it?
Mm.
People have always wanted to, navigate social situations better. It affects everything, personal life, work.
Totally.
And if there was nothing out there, well, that shows how groundbreaking Carnegie's work must have seemed.
And here's a key point. This wasn't just Carnegie thinking things up in his study. He spent years, doing the actual work.
Like what?
He interviewed loads of successful people. We're talking Marconi, Edison, FDR, Clark Gable, a real list.
Wow.
Trying to figure out, okay, what did they do? What were their people skills? Plus, he was constantly tweaking his ideas in his adult education classes.
Ah, so real-world testing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The book actually started as just simple cards he used in class. It took 15 years to evolve into the book.
15 years. Okay.
And the preface makes some pretty bold claims, doesn't it? It says the principles work like magic, that they've literally revolutionized lives.
Does it give examples?
Yeah, it mentions a business owner boosting profits, salespeople selling more, executives getting promoted, real results.
That evolution from simple ideas tested out repeatedly to a full book, that says a lot. It
Yeah.
suggests it's really grounded in what works, not just, nice ideas.
So our mission today for you listening is to kind of give you the condensed version, a shortcut to understanding these time-tested principles.
Helping you build better relationships, influence people, get ahead, without needing to read the whole thing cover to cover right now.
Exactly. So let's dive right into the first principle. And it might sound a bit, negative at first. Don't criticize, condemn, or complain.
Right. And you immediately think, well, why start there? Why the negativity? What's the thinking behind avoiding that?
Well, the book uses some pretty dramatic examples to make the point.
Like who?
Take Two Gun Crowley. Remember him? Notorious criminal.
Vaguely.
Even when he was facing the electric chair, did he blame himself? Nope. He wrote that he was being punished for defending himself, saw himself as the victim, basically.
That's quite the rationalization.
And Al Capone, public enemy number 1. He apparently thought he was just a public benefactor, bringing people entertainment, and was just misunderstood and persecuted.
It's almost unbelievable, the level of self-justification.
But the book's point is, this isn't just criminals, it's kind of a human thing. We hate being wrong.
Yeah, those extreme examples really shine a light on, how strong that bias is. We want to see ourselves in a good light. Criticism feels like an attack on that.
Makes you defensive.
Exactly. It just shuts down any real self-reflection most of the time. It's just natural to push back or make excuses.
And it's not just the big-time criminals. John Wanamaker, the department store guy, he said he learned way back that scolding people was just foolish.
Oh, yeah. What was his reasoning?
He basically said, look, I've got enough trouble managing my own faults without worrying about God distributing intelligence unevenly or criticizing others. Pointless.
That's a great insight. Spending energy criticizing others.
Yeah.
It often doesn't work, and it just drains you, right?
Yeah. Why waste the effort?
Better to focus it elsewhere.
Then Carnegie brings in Abraham Lincoln as a counterexample or maybe an evolution.
How so?
Apparently, when Lincoln was younger, he was pretty cutting. wrote letters, even poems mocking people, made enemies.
Oh, interesting. I didn't know that.
But he learned, the hard way maybe, that it just backfired. Later on, especially during the Civil War, he became super careful about criticism.
Makes sense in that context.
There's this story about a letter he wrote but maybe never sent to General Meade. After Gettysburg, Meade had a chance to capture Lee's army, potentially end the war, but he didn't push it.
Right. A huge missed opportunity. Lincoln must have been furious.
Deeply disappointed, yeah. But the letter he drafted, it was incredibly restrained. It wasn't like, you idiot. It was more like, I'm so sorry this happened, focusing on the consequences, not blaming Meade directly.
That shows real wisdom, doesn't it?
Hmm.
Especially when you're leading. He could have blasted him, but he saw the bigger picture. Needed Meade. Alienating him wouldn't help.
Exactly. He chose understanding, or at least restraint, over just venting.
Strategic.
And one last thing on this point, there's this really touching piece mentioned called Father Forgets.
Okay.
It's basically a father looking back on his day, realizing he'd been nagging his young son constantly for little things, leaving clothes on the floor, gulping food.
Oh, yeah. Been there.
But then he sees his son asleep, looking small and innocent, and he's just hit with this wave of regret. He realizes he was judging a little kid by adult standards, ignoring all the good stuff about him.
Oof. That hits home.
It really drives home the emotional cost of constant criticism, especially with people we love. Need for empathy.
Definitely. It makes the principle much more personal, less abstract. The importance of perspective.
Okay, so let's shift gears. Principle number 2. Give honest and sincere appreciation. Now, this feels more positive.
Yes. Definitely a different vibe. And the core idea here is pretty profound.
Which is?
Well, Carnegie argues that the only way to get anyone to do anything is to make them want to do it.
Okay. How?
By tapping into what people deeply desire.
Yeah.
And one of the biggest desires, maybe the biggest, according to thinkers like Dewey and Freud he mentions, is the desire to be important, to feel valued.
Right, that feeling of significance. So appreciation feeds that need.
Exactly. Honest, sincere appreciation. Not flattery, that's different, but genuine recognition. It moves things from like external pressure, you must do this, to internal motivation. I want to do this because it makes me feel good or valued.
Gotcha. And there are some great little stories for this one, too.
Like the kindergarten kid.
Yeah. Stan Novak's son, Tim. Kid absolutely refused to go to kindergarten, crying, protesting.
Typical kid stuff. So what'd they do?
Well, instead of forcing him or punishing him, Stan and his wife sat down and thought, okay, what would make Tim want to go? What would he enjoy?
Smart. Focusing on the kid's perspective.
Right. So they made a list of all the fun things. Finger painting, singing songs, playing with new kids. And they started talking about those things, getting excited about them with Tim.
Ah, building the desire.
Exactly. Next morning, Tim woke everyone up, couldn't wait to go. Complete turnaround, just by shifting focus to his potential enjoyment.
That's a fantastic example. Simple, but really shows the principle in action, change the motivation.
Then there's a business one. Negotiating rent for a hotel ballroom in New York.
Okay.
Carnegie was running his courses there, and the hotel suddenly tripled the rent. He couldn't afford it.
Ouch. So he argued, complained.
Nope. He went to the manager, but instead of talking about his budget problem, he focused entirely on the hotel's interests.
How did he do that?
He talked about the pros and cons for the hotel, of him holding his events elsewhere versus staying, how his educated, cultured audience was great advertising for the hotel, how he filled the ballroom on nights it would otherwise be empty. He basically made a list of advantages for the manager.
Clever.
Yeah.
Focusing on the manager's needs, keeping the place booked, looking good.
Precisely. He didn't even mention his own inability to pay the higher rent until the very end, after the manager was already seeing the value Carnegie brought.
You got a reduction.
A huge reduction, way lower than the initial demand, just by framing it around the other person's wants.
That's brilliant negotiation. See it from their side, show them the benefit, creates that win-win feeling.
The book also contrasts some, frankly, terrible advertising letters.
So I bet, full of I want and we need.
Totally. With this one letter from a woman, Barbara Anderson. She needed a job in Phoenix because her son had health issues, needed the climate.
Okay, tough situation.
But her letter to the banks there, it barely mentioned her own needs. It was all about, here's my decade of banking experience, here's how I can contribute to your bank's success, help you achieve your goals.
Wow. Focus completely on the employer's perspective.
The result, she sent it to 12 banks, Got 11 interview offers.
11 out of 12. That's incredible. It just shows, doesn't it? Focus on what they need, not just what you want.
And there's that quote from Henry Ford in the book that really nails it.
Which way?
If there is any one secret of success, it lies in the ability to get the other person's point of view and see things from that person's angle as well as from your own.
That sums it up perfectly. Empathy isn't just nice, it's like strategically vital.
Absolutely. Such a simple idea, but clearly hard to master.
It requires effort to step outside your own head.
And there are other little examples too, like parents getting an underweight kid to eat by appealing to his desire to be big and strong, like his dad.
Or the little girl who wouldn't eat breakfast until her mom let her cook it herself because she wanted to imitate her mother.
Yeah. Finding that specific desire, that angle, and connecting with it.
It works across the board, seems like. Family, business.
The book also makes a point about how often we just talk about ourselves, constantly using I.
Oh, yeah. Guilty as charged sometimes.
Me too. And it quotes Alfred Adler, the psychologist, saying something like, "The person who isn't interested in others is the one who has the greatest difficulties in life and causes the most injury to others."
That's powerful. It suggests that being genuinely interested in other people isn't just, good manners. It's essential for navigating life effectively.
Yeah.
Too much self-focus is a barrier.
Definitely makes you think about your own conversations. Who's doing most of the talking?
And are you really listening or just waiting for your turn to talk about yourself?
Right. Which ties into some nice anecdotes about genuine appreciation and interest, like Theodore Roosevelt.
What about him?
Apparently, he once visited the White House kitchen and found out his valet's wife was curious about a specific bird. Roosevelt took the time to actually show her the bird outside, talk about it, a small act of noticing her interest.
That's lovely. It shows real, genuine interest in the people around him, regardless of their station.
And the Brooklyn Institute trying to get famous authors like Kathleen Norris or George Bernard Shaw to speak.
How'd they do it? Probably couldn't offer huge fees.
Exactly. So instead, they sent a letter signed by like 100 students saying how much they admired the author's work, how much they wanted to hear them, learn from them, pure, sincere admiration.
Appealing to that desire to be important, to be appreciated for their work.
And it worked. It shows that sincere appreciation can be incredibly persuasive.
It really can. People respond to feeling genuinely valued.
There's another story, C.M. Naffel Jr. trying to sell fuel oil to a big chain store. Kept getting shut down.
Common sales problem.
So finally he changed tactics. He went to the executive not to sell, but to ask for advice, a favor. Said he wanted to understand the chain store business better. Could the exec spare a few minutes?
Appealing to the exec's expertise and importance.
Yes.
Asking for help.
Exactly. And he showed genuine interest, listened intently for almost 2 hours, didn't even mention selling fuel until the exec asked him about his business.
And then he got the sale.
Yep. Became a major customer just by shifting from selling to showing sincere interest and making the other guy feel important.
That's a great sales lesson right there.
Yeah.
Build the relationship first.
And one more, the Thanksgiving story about a nurse.
Okay.
She was working the holiday, feeling a bit down, serving dinner to patients. One woman seemed particularly lonely and bitter, didn't want to eat.
Sad situation.
Instead of just moving on, the nurse stopped and said something like, "You must be so lonely away from your family today." And she listened while the patient talked about her feelings, gave her real attention and empathy.
Just acknowledging her feelings.
Yeah. And it completely changed the dynamic. The patients started eating, became more cooperative. Just that moment of genuine connection, showing you care.
These stories really hammer home the power of authentic interest and empathy. It's not manipulation, it's connection.
Okay, let's move to principle number 3. This one seems simple on the surface. Remember that a person's name is to that person the sweetest and most important sound in any language.
It sounds almost too simple, maybe. But yeah, there's definitely something powerful about hearing your own name.
It makes you feel recognized, right? Seen as an individual.
Absolutely. It cuts through the noise. And the book links this to smiling, too.
Oh, yeah.
Well, it mentions research, like from Professor McConnell, saying a smile communicates warmth, makes you seem more approachable, more effective.
Like that phone power training they used to do for telephone companies, teaching reps to smile even though the customer can't see them.
Exactly. Because it apparently comes through in your voice. Makes you sound friendlier, more engaged.
There's that story about the businessman, the stockbroker, who was kind of grumpy, decided to just try smiling more as an experiment.
And what happened?
He started smiling at the elevator operator, the people at the stock exchange, and he found people started smiling back. Interactions became warmer, less friction. Even his commute felt better.
It's amazing how such a small change can have that ripple effect. A smile is contagious, kind of.
Totally. And back to names, the classic example is Jim Farley.
FDR's campaign manager, right?
Mm.
Famous for remembering names.
Famous is an understatement. The book claims he could call 50,000 people by their first name.
50,000, that's hard to even imagine. But incredibly valuable in politics, obviously.
Made people feel incredibly important, personally connected to the campaign. And it wasn't just magic, he worked at it. Napoleon III apparently had a system too.
What was his trick?
If he didn't hear a name clearly, he'd ask, sorry, didn't get the name. If it was unusual, he'd ask for the spelling. He'd repeat it during the conversation, try to associate it with the person's features or job. Made a conscious effort.
So it's a skill you can develop, not just something you're born with.
Seems so. And there's that little anecdote about Ken Nottingham in the cafeteria.
Oh, yeah, with Eunice.
Right. He saw her name tag, just casually said, hello, Eunice, when he got his food. And her whole demeanor changed. Big smile, energy.
And didn't he think he got a bigger portion of fries or something?
He did. He called it the magic contained in a name. Just that simple act of using it transformed the interaction.
It's those little things, isn't it? Showing you see the person, not just the transaction.
All right, principle 4. This feels like a big one. Be a good listener. Encourage others to talk about themselves.
Definitely foundational. If you don't listen, how can you possibly understand the other person's interests or needs?
It's key to everything else we've discussed. And it's harder than it sounds, sometimes.
Oh, for sure. True listening, not just waiting to talk.
The book has that funny story about the dinner party host.
With the botanist.
Yeah. The host apparently said almost nothing all evening. Just listened intently, asked a few questions, while this visiting botanist talked on and on about exotic plants.
Okay.
Afterwards, the botanist told someone the host was one of the most brilliant conversationalists he ever met.
Huh. Just by listening. That's great. It challenges that idea that you have to be talking to be seen as engaging.
Totally. Sometimes the best thing you can do is just shut up and listen well.
And there are quotes reinforcing this. Charles W. Eliot, former president of Harvard, called giving someone your exclusive attention the highest compliment.
And Henry James wrote about Dr. Eliot's listening style, how he didn't just look at you, but seemed to be listening with his whole being.
That kind of intense focus makes the speaker feel incredibly heard and valued. It's flattering, like James said.
There's also the story of Mr. Detmer, the department store head dealing with an angry customer.
What happened there?
This woman came in furious, accusing them of overcharging her, demanding a refund. Detmer could have argued, shown her the bill.
But he listened instead.
Exactly. He just let her vent, didn't interrupt, just listened patiently while she got it all out. Agreed that they needed to investigate if there was a mistake.
De-escalated the situation.
Completely. By the end of her tirade, her anger had kind of fizzled out. She ended up apologizing for her tone, and before leaving, she actually placed another larger order.
Wow. Just by being heard, she felt respected enough to, well, calm down and even continue doing business. That's powerful.
It really is. Listening solved the problem better than arguing ever could have.
It often does.
There's another interesting one about a young Western Union office boy. This was way back.
Right.
He didn't have much formal education, but he was fascinated by the successful people sending telegrams. He started asking them questions, listening intently to their stories, even writing to some famous people he admired.
So he learned through listening.
Essentially, yeah. He soaked up knowledge and built connections just by being genuinely interested in a good listener. He went on to become quite successful himself.
That shows listening isn't just passive, it's active learning.
And even Sigmund Freud gets mentioned for his listening skills, how people felt they could tell him anything because he listened with such calm intensity.
That makes sense for a psychoanalyst, obviously.
Yeah.
But it's a skill we can all use.
Definitely. And then there's a rather sharp quote from Dr. Nicholas Murray Butler, another university president.
What did he say?
Something like, people who are wrapped up in themselves, who only talk about themselves, are hopelessly uneducated, no matter how much schooling they've had.
Ouch. Pretty blunt.
But it drives home the point, right? People are just way more interested in themselves, their own problems, their own lives.
It's human nature, so if you want to connect, you need to tune into their frequency.
There's the bread salesman story.
The one who tried for years.
Yeah, 4 years trying to sell bread to a particular hotel manager. Got nowhere. Tried everything.
So what finally worked?
He finally realized he knew nothing about the manager personally, So one day he asked him what he was interested in, what he got passionate about. Turns out the manager was part of some hotel society, the Hotel Greeters of America. He got incredibly animated talking about it, talked for half an hour.
The salesman just listened.
Yep, showed genuine interest, didn't even mention bread. A few days later, the manager called him and placed an order.
Amazing. Finding that personal interest unlocked the whole relationship.
And similar story with Edward E. Harriman trying to get a job interview with R.J. Funkhauser, a big business figure.
How did he approach it?
He did his homework. Found out Funkhauser had just donated a huge amount to build a hospital in his hometown. So when Harriman got a brief chance to speak to him, he didn't talk about himself. He talked about how much he admired Funkhauser's generosity and community spirit.
Appealed to his pride and values.
Exactly. Funkhauser ended up talking for ages about the hospital, his motivations, and gave Harriman the interview. Focusing on the other person's passion opened the door.
It's a consistent theme, isn't it? Find their interest.
And one last one for listening like the shy student, Chris.
Right, the one who's seen behind.
Yeah, his fourth grade teacher felt he was maybe misplaced, should be in a lower group. But before making a decision, she talked to him, really listened to him about his life, his interests outside school.
She gave him her full attention.
She did. And she realized he wasn't unintelligent, just maybe quiet or uninterested in the standard stuff. She told him she knew he was smart and capable and put him in the advanced reading group.
Wow, the opposite of what she initially thought.
Right, and that act of belief, sparked by really listening and making him feel important, apparently motivated him to prove her right. He excelled.
That's incredible. Shows how listening and showing belief can actually change someone's trajectory, making them feel seen.
Okay, so moving on. Principle 5 builds right on this. Talk in terms of the other person's interests.
Yeah, it's the natural next step, isn't it?
Uh,
First, you listen to find out what they care about, then you talk about those things.
It's perfect sense. If you know what frequency they're tuned into, you broadcast on that frequency.
Exactly. And the book has some great illustrations here, too, like the attorney in Connecticut trying to get a car from his elderly aunt.
Oh, yeah, the Packard story. How did that work? He didn't just ask for it, did you?
No, that probably would have failed. Instead, knowing she was proud of her beautiful old house and possessions, he spent his visit genuinely admiring everything. The pewter, the antiques, the house itself.
So he focused on her pride and joy.
Completely. He talked about how she'd preserved everything so wonderfully, he didn't mention the car at all. But because he'd connected with her on what she valued, made her feel good.
She offered him the car.
She basically insisted he take it. He tapped into her feelings, her interests, and it led to this amazing, unexpected gift.
It shows how focusing on their world can sometimes get you what you want more effectively than focusing on your own desires.
It's less about manipulation, more about building genuine rapport through shared interests, even if you're just admiring theirs.
Then there's James Adamson trying to sell engines to George Eastman, founder of Kodak. Big fish.
Right. How did he approach that? Eastman must have been tough.
Adamson got shown into Eastman's office, and instead of launching into a sales pitch, he commented on how beautiful the office was. Said he'd always admired finely crafted woodwork.
Okay, found a point of connection based on the environment.
Eastman proudly showed him around, explained how he'd designed parts of it himself. Then Adamson mentioned he'd recently seen a news story about Eastman donating money to help poor children. He expressed genuine admiration for that.
Connecting with Eastman's philanthropic side, his values.
Exactly. Again, focusing entirely on Eastman's interests and achievements. They talked for a long time about Eastman's life, his work helping others.
And the engine sale.
Eastman ended up giving him the order, a huge one, almost without Adamson having to sell in the traditional sense. The connection was built on Eastman's interests.
It's finding that common ground, or at least appreciating their ground.
And one more, bringing it into like an everyday management situation. Claude Murray, a restaurant owner in Paris.
What was his challenge?
He had a key employee, a cashier, who was really valuable but wanted to quit. Bad news for the restaurant.
So what did he do? Just offer more money?
He could have, but instead, he sat down with her and talked about how important she was to the restaurant, how much he relied on her, how much the customers liked her, how crucial her role was.
Focusing on her value, her significance to the operation, making her feel essential.
Exactly. He talked in terms of her importance and the restaurant's need for her, and she decided to stay. He appealed to her desire to feel valued and needed.
That's a great example of applying this principle to retain talent. It's not just about the task, it's about the person feeling important.
Which leads us perfectly, actually, to the last principle we're going to cover today, principle 6. Make the other person feel important and do it sincerely.
Yes. This feels like it kind of encapsulates a lot of the previous points, doesn't it? Remembering names, listening, talking about their interests. It all contributes to making someone feel important.
It really does. But that last part, and do it sincerely, seems absolutely crucial.
Oh, completely. Insincere flattery or praise. People can usually sniff that out a mile away.
Right. It feels slimy, manipulative.
Exactly. It backfires. It damages trust instead of building it. The appreciation, the recognition of importance, it has to come from a genuine place. Even if you have to look for it sometimes, find something you can honestly admire or appreciate.
So, if we kind of wrap up these first 6 principles we've gone through, there's a real clear theme emerging, isn't there?
Definitely. It's almost entirely about shifting your focus, getting out of your own head, your own needs, your own perspective.
And tuning into the other person, their needs, their interests, their feelings, their name, their desire to feel important.
Precisely. It's about cultivating genuine interest, offering that sincere appreciation, paying attention to those personal details, actively listening, framing things in their terms, and consistently reinforcing their value.
It sounds so simple when you list it like that, but doing it consistently, that's the challenge.
It is. It requires conscious effort, empathy, and maybe pushing against our own natural tendency towards self-focus. But the argument is that's the foundation for really winning friends and influencing people positively.
So, as you're reflecting on all this, our listener, here's maybe something to chew on.
Okay.
Considering these principles, just these first few we've touched on, what's maybe one small, concrete change you could try in your very next conversation, your next meeting, your next call, even just chatting with someone at home?
Like what kind of change?
Maybe it's deliberately using the other person's name more consciously, or asking one more follow-up question about something they brought up, showing you were really listening, or finding one specific, sincere thing to appreciate about them or something they did.
Just one small thing.
Yeah. It might seem minor, but as we've heard from these stories in How to Win Friends and Influence People, those small shifts in focus, done sincerely, well, they can have a surprisingly big impact on the connection you make.
Absolutely. And if this deep dive has got you thinking, maybe exploring the book itself could offer even more layers, more techniques to really hone these skills.
For sure. These ideas, they've been around a long time for a reason. They really do seem to hold the potential to, genuinely improve how you connect and interact with everyone around you.